He also has a divination element to his deck, which is a little surprising for somebody who does not have the maximum number of Jace Architect of Thoughts. What do you make of playing only 3 Jaces?
I think that there's a lot of hands where you'd rather have 1 divination and 1 Jace than 2 Jaces. I think Jace is so powerful that I would be loath to cut it, but I don't think it's intrinsically wrong. As you see, Kent here start off the action with a Rakdos Cackler. Jeff Kruchkow playing Esper Control just off with the Temple. And this is the kind of start that you need to beat Esper Control decks. So you see a Spike Gesture on turn 2.
Yep. And what's interesting is his Black Splash is just Thoughtseize and Doomblade, neither of which is going to help him here. Now, both are just in the board, but here he just effectively has a lot of land that come into play tapped.
Mm-hmm. You see a Celestial Flare from Jeff here, take out the Cackler. This is the sweet thing about Ravnica block is there's so many powerful cards that and they're gold, so you can't play them all. So there's things that you forget about, like Spike Gesture, where someone casts a Spike Gesture against you, your reaction is, oh, that's a thing. I forgot that card existed, and it's quite good.
Yeah, Spike Gesture hits like a truck.
Although Jeff with a Detention Sphere to take it down, and now Kent looks like he's choking a little bit on removal in his hand. He has multiple lands and multiple removal spells left over.
Yeah, this is one of the risks of playing a deck with Dreadbore, Mizium Mortars, Shock, Ultimate Price, Lightning Strike, Searing Blood. And that's a whole lot of not threats.
Yeah, there's only 9 total cards like that in Kent's deck, removal spells. But there are quite a bit of variety here. 2 Dreadbore, 2 Mizium Mortar, 2 Shock, a Searing Blood, a Lightning Strike, and an Ultimate Price. How he came to those numbers, you'd have to ask the man himself.
He did the math.
See a rev for 2 here.
You don't want him to rev, but if they've got a rev, revving for 2 is not that bad.
Well, usually when my opponents rev for 2, it's because they have Elspeth at hand and no 6th land, so it's not as good as it seems. Although Jeff just with a tapped Hallowed Fountain here, it looks like.
Another rev for 2. What do you think about the playing the Hallowed Fountain tapped there?
I think Jeff has enough life to work with there that it's worth playing the Hallowed Fountain on tap and drawing an extra card. He's at 16. He would be at 15 because he would be up 1 life, -2 for playing the Hallowed Fountain on tap. So,
and there's another Shock. So Kent sitting on answers to the first 4 Soldier of the Pantheons that Jeff would play.
Well, Chandra's Phoenix is a real draw here potentially.
Oh yeah, with 2 Shocks in hand.
Never mind, as Jeff his arm with the last breath, and now Kent is going to try to cash an Ultimate Price here. He needs to keep this Chandra's Phoenix in his graveyard.
Nice play. Kent has all the answers for his Chandra's Phoenix.
So, Jeff there attempted to syncopate the removal spell, the Ultimate Price, on the Chandra's Phoenix. Kent responded with a Shock on his Chandra's Phoenix, so it is now in the graveyard. Yep. So step 1 down for Kent, which is have Chandra's Phoenix in the graveyard. And a turn here. Kent is going to shock Jeff, gets his Chandra's Phoenix back.
Nice little way to cash in your removal spell for something.
He was at least able to trade it kind of 1-for-1 card-wise, which is something of a victory, but he is down quite a bit of momentum here.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, the way he got to this position was by using 2 removal spells on his own creature anyway.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's all, I mean, this is a tough way to have to do it against a guy who has Sphinx Revelation now a 3rd time.
So a rev for 5 at the end of Kent's turn. Jeff with naturally a loaded hand at this point.
Detention Sphere answers the Chandra's Phoenix, and it looks like Jeff has everything he needs.
Getting ready to discard down to hand size.
For everybody wondering, if you've got feedback for Wizards of the Coast on Sphinx's Revelation, make sure to tweet at Helene. Let her know. Helene and Worth. Let them know. I think Aaron Forsythe's also accepting tweets on the subject. And I'm pretty sure that if you just copy Brian Kibler, it'll work out.
Right. Just just have all the people you would normally tag for your unrelated posts.
Yes. Make sure to tag them all and let them know. What do you think about Sphinx's Revelation? Is it a lot of life sometimes? What about cards?
So, Jace Architect, the thought comes down for Jeff. He's going to plus it. Kent's attacking with Fire Drink Crusader, trying to pump enough to take down this Jace. And Jeff with the Celestial Flare.
He does have a little bit of flair to him.
And
Jace continuing to plus.
Seems like Jeff has found his path to victory here, was just trying to go ultimate with Jace. Or he's just trying to Elspeth. That's fine too. It's all fine.
Yeah, everything's fine all the time. Kent packs it up. This is a very different style of conclusion than we just saw. Here, both players content to let the actual game last 5 minutes and move on.
Yeah, Kent with a fast concession, but not a quick concession.
No.
Because the writing was on the wall with that one.
Oh, yeah.
So, onto the sideboard here. Kent, of course, with a lot of removal spells in his deck that he would likely like to remove. His sideboard is a Mizium Mortars, 2 Peak Eruptions, 2 Hammer Perforos, 2 Rakdos Return, 2 Doomblade, 3 Skullcrack, and 3 Searing Bloods. I think you're going to see the 3 Skullcracks come in, the 2 Hammer Perforoses, and the 2 copies of Rakdos Return.
Exactly.
He's going to remove 7 of the creature-specific removal spells. He can keep in Lightning Strike. He may want to keep in Dreadbore as insurance against Planeswalkers.
Yeah, I think he's actually got the numbers exact. I mean, you can tell this is a very tuned list. He's got exactly the right number of spots where by cutting the 1 Ultimate Price, the 1 Lightning Strike, the 1 Searing Blood, the 2 Shocks, and the 2 Mizium Mortars.
That's 7.
So that's 7 out, and then 7 will come in. He'll keep the 2 Dreadbores just to have answers to Jace and potentially Elspeth. But I think that this is just a spot where he's got the exact right numbers of cards so that he can, I mean, obviously he was expecting this matchup, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he knows he's going to be soft game 1, but I think he's going to actually legitimately gain a lot after sideboard because Rakdos' Return, Skullcrack, and Hammer Perforos are a lot of high-impact cards that hit from a lot of different angles.
Yeah. What do we got going on Jeff's side?
On the other side, Jeff's Kruchkow's sideboard not particularly strong in this matchup. He's got Ratchet Bomb, Glare of Heresy, 2 Thoughtseize, a Jace Memory Adept, Keening Apparition, 2 Dispel, a Gainsay, a Pithing Needle, 3 Doomblades, and 2 Negates. He doesn't really gain anything. I don't know if I would want any of these cards. I guess it's always possible that you're like, okay, well, I guess I want, you know, I don't even know what you would want because too many of Kent's creatures are black for Doomblade. Pithing Needle, no real good targets. Negate, while it does hit Rakdos' Return or Hammer of Perforos, there's a real shortage. You don't want to just be stuck. I mean, maybe you want it just, you know, just to have another, it's possible you just want some cheaper cards and cut things like Faded Retribution, which are super slow. But there is a real shortage of great options. You know, maybe 1 Jace Memory Adept, maybe. But I think that this matchup, well, it favored Jeff pretty substantially game 1. I actually think that this might slide slightly into Kent's favor. At the very least, I think he's equalized.
I think Jeff may bring in the Ratchet Bomb just based on the cards they saw. The deck that Kent presented game 1, the cards they showed at least, was a lot of cheap threats and some removal spells. There was nothing to indicate that Kent's list is going all the way up to Stormbreath Dragon. Ratchet Bomb may be fine, but it is likely worse against Kent than what he presented in the first game.
Absolutely. And, I mean, his main deck isn't exactly all, you know, all-stars, so being able to cut like a Faded Retribution for a Ratchet Bomb seems like a nice little upgrade. The main thing Jeff's looking to do is draw some cheap interaction, you know? He just wants to survive long enough and hope that, I mean, there's no mistaking. Kent definitely stumbled there with too much reaction. I mean, as we saw the turn where he cast Ultimate Price and 2 Shocks, he very clearly has, you know, had a reactive draw that game. And Jeff knows that the odds are game 2 will be much more aggressive.
Yeah, and often these Esper control decks have nothing to do on the second turn. And in that game, even with Kent drawing as much removal as he did, I'm fairly certain that if Jeff doesn't have a Celestial Flare on the second turn and his first play of the board is Detention Sphere on turn 3, Kent wins in spite of drawing a lot of dead cards.
Yeah, I mean, even that game, which, you know, spun out of control pretty quickly, was a lot closer than it looked because if Kent had been just one click a little, ahead in tempo, he could have won before the big revelations even became a factor.
Yep. Kent lays down his opening 7 here. It looks like he had kind of he had 2 Rakdos Cacklers. I'm not sure if he had a land that came into play untapped on the first turn. He did have a Temple of Malice, but got a mulligan pretty aggressively against Esper.
Yeah, absolutely. We need there to be less cards in your hand to ensure that the Jace deck wins.
Well, time's not on your side, so it's just about finding the right mix of stuff.
Oh, yeah. We do have a pretty aggressive opening here. Kent looking for a nice little mix. Kent's dream is to play a spell on 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
But it looks like his hand is not really starting at that.
He has a Dreadbore and a Skullcrack and some lands. This is a pretty rough mulligan to 6. Of course, a keepable hand when you have the Rakdos Cackler, but Kent needs to have proactive stuff. Although Jeff without white mana for the time being, so.
It is tough.
Oh, sorry, he does have a Plains.
When you're on a mulligan anyway, getting flooded is brutal. I mean, here he's down a card anyway, and the 5th land is the 5th land's not dead because of Stormwrath Dragon, but he doesn't want any more, that's for sure.
And you see Kent play a land untapped before combat. This is to play around Syncopate, which isn't Jeff's
Very
hand.
smart play.
Jeff taking some hits here.
And it looks like Jeff's a little high on mana too.
This is much better for the Revelation deck than the red-black beatdown deck.
Generally, but I mean, Kent is putting some serious pressure on Jeff. He's got him down to 12 already. And with a Dreadbore in hand, this Jace is not even the biggest issue.
So Jace falls to the Dreadbore, and Jeff falls to 10. Kent flooding out a little bit here.
He's
light
got
on pressure, but
he's got a few options, but he's definitely falling behind. He can't just keep taking hits.
He has the option to Detention Sphere. He's going to Jace this turn.
Now, as a red player, do you attack Jace here, or you just continue to go upstairs?
With Skullcrack in hand, I think that you need to be going after. You need to be going after Jeff here. If he has in this spot, if you attack Jace down to 3, you Skullcrack it, and he has any sort of follow-up, that's probably the game. You're taking some risk here by leaving Jace in play, but I think the way that his hand is composed right now, he just has to run that risk.
It looks like we do have a Supreme Verdict.
And Jeff pluses the Jace here, which I like quite a bit here, as he has to respect Kent's ability to get back the Chandra's Phoenix potentially.
Kent goes ahead and cracks Jeff's skull, knocking him to 5, returning the Phoenix. Is that another Phoenix? Wow. That is exactly what Kent was in the market for, if that's another Phoenix. I mean, obviously he'd like a burn spell, but once if you have to draw a creature, he only plays 1.
Well, he played around Syncopate earlier in the game. He certainly respects that as a possibility.
Nice, and he correctly reads that his opponent has a Syncopate.
And Detention Sphere could be a risk too.
Which, very, very smart. This is not Kent's first, trip to the rodeo with red-black.
Yeah, the problem is that, getting Jeff down to 3 in that scenario is so attractive because you have Skullcrack and Hammer Perforos in your deck. But Jeff here with an Elixir gives himself a little bit of breathing room. And that's also great timing by Jeff there, as if Kent did have access to a Skullcrack, he could simply Syncopate it. And plus his Jace again.
Wow, so now I think Jeff's got to be the favorite here, right?
Yes,
I mean,
definitely
like
a swung.
Like that Supreme Verdict was game-changing.
And Kent has drawn a Mizium Mortar, so he didn't cut all of that removal altogether.
Wow. Mizium Mortars. Is this out of fear and respect for the potential of an Archangel of Thune?
Or a Blood Baron, potentially?
Or possibly even a Fiendslayer Paladin in the event that you get a chance to overload the mortars?
Yeah, Bramaz. I mean, it's possible the Esper deck can present some creatures after board. Kent here trying to stay alive here. Deploys an Ash Zealot. And you can see at this point, Kent realizes he does not have enough. He does not have time to wait and play around things. Syncopate for 2 handles the second Phoenix. Where are you Are you attacking Jace here if you're Kent?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, if he ultimates, it's over. And Jeff does have one of those Doom Blades, which it doesn't hit everything, but it does hit Chandra's Phoenix, Ash Zealot, the Fire Drinker Satyr, and Stormbright Dragon, so definitely good enough.
Now Jace goes ultimate. See what he gets here momentarily. Immediately puts an elixir to the front. I feel like he can do better than that here.
That's the bar, though. Jace or Elixir? And with a Sphinx's Revelation and an Elspeth in hand, it's very possible he just wants the life cushion. But he decides to go with Elspeth for the board presence.
We'll see what he can get out of Kent's deck here momentarily. Hammer is a pretty cute option here alongside Elspeth.
Yeah, I don't think it's hammer time.
Nah. Looking at Stormbreath Dragon here. Some options.
Yeah, I think he's trying to figure out what he needs to play around.
It's going to go with a Dreadbore. Conservative approach.
Dreadbore hitting the Ash Zealot. Elspeth creating a board presence.
Yeah, against Red Black, I mean, you know, there's not a lot of outs to Elspeth, and now one of them's been removed from the deck.
Oh yeah, particularly since he just checked and saw that there are only 2 Dreadbores total.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he doesn't know what Kent's last card in hand is, but
he's going to put him to the test. I mean, it has to be Dreadbore right now or bust. And even in that scenario, Jeff still has this going on.
Yeah, I mean, this is another Revelation is not a bad little part of the game plan to have. Kent really needs a Stormbreath Dragon. Some kind of a big threat, or Rakdos' return would be good.
It would be a start at least. Elspeth pluses yet again.
Yeah, you saw Jeff considering possibly taking one of the 2 Rakdos' returns just to deny that as an out to Kent.
Yeah, maybe Jeff's removed his counterspells altogether from his list right now. Not unreasonable. Try to speed up the deck a little bit. I mean, we have seen Syncopate, but it's possible dissolves in his sideboard right now.
Yep, or some number of them.
Yep. Now Jeff pluses Elspeth yet again, threatening to go ultimate next turn.
Jeff, plenty of resources to work with. At this point, just hanging out. He just needs to nurse the next couple of turns. Elspeth should finish Kent off relatively shortly. Now, Mizium Mortars is still an option here, right? Like to buy some time?
Buys a little bit of time, but Jeff even has 2 Mutavaults in play, so just going ultimate with Elspeth and start hitting with your 4/4 Mutavaults.
So this buys Kent 1 extra turn. Not really a lot he can do to take advantage of that, though.
And Jeff, as you mentioned, just flush with so many resources to work with. So Jeff goes ahead, makes the Elspeth emblem. Plays another Elspeth. Generates a couple 3/3 flyers.
Gets in there for 8. And
Yeah,
that's the hand.
Yep.
So Jeff Kruchkow wins 2-0 over Kent Ketter. Another Sphinx's Revelation victory.
Just a little bit too much removal in both games.
Yeah, and both